The President of the United States has the right to determine who should be admitted to the United States and who should be allowed to stay. And people who call for death to the Jews and who support raping women as an act of war and who support killing babies have no place in the United States. If they're citizens, obviously we have to tolerate them and they have First Amendment rights, which we should be rebutting and attacking. But if they're visa holders, they're here at our discretion, and they come as a favor to them, and they come to do best for the United States. They still have First Amendment rights. They can go on Zoom and they can, make their hate speech over Zoom. They just can't be in the United States if they are provoking anti-Semitic attacks against Jews and against Americans. We have the right to determine who comes into and who remains in this country, and that's the prerogative of the president. Now, there has to be a process. There has to be an opportunity to challenge whether or not the people said what it is alleged they have said or they're here improperly. But once due process is satisfied, the president has the right to say, no, you can't remain.
Yeah. Let me show you this video. I know you've seen it. It's now spreading just wildly on social media, showing the arrest of Tufts University PhD student Rumeysa Ozturk by federal agents. They were in masks. They were in plain clothes. The White House claims that she was engaged in activities in support of Hamas. Does that have to be proven in court? You know, when will we see the evidence against these people linked to protests? They talk about these propaganda pamphlets that Mahmoud Khalil had. At what point do we see that evidence that they're talking about, Alan?
There has to be either probable cause or reasonable basis. It can't just be made up, and they have a right to challenge that, and they can challenge it. But people get arrested all the time on the basis of probable cause, and the arrest in this case seems not unusual, not out of the ordinary. And if she was, in fact, here improperly, many of these people lied and committed fraud in order to get visas. For example, you're often asked on your visa application, do you support terrorist groups? And they do, and they lie about it. And if they do, and it can be proved they lied, then you don't have to prove anything else. You don't have to prove anything they said or anything they did, as long as they procured their visa by fraud. And I suspect a lot of these people did. But they have a process. They have the right to challenge. But the government also has the power to arrest them based on probable cause or reasonable basis.
Let me play a bit of sound for you, Alan. I want to get your take on this question. This was posed at the hearing on anti-Semitism on college campuses on Thursday.
If we think that the United States should not be supplying more bombs and artillery to the Netanyahu government, do you think, I don't want the debate on Israel, do you think that is anti-Semitic?
If you criticize somebody who's Jewish, that's not anti-Semitic. If you criticize the fact that they're Jewish,
right,
or use that to criticize something, that's anti-Semitic.
Yeah, Alan, we see this divide, you know, protesting Israel versus being pro-Hamas. I mean, in your opinion, what's the line between freedom of expression for these people and then unprotected discrimination?
Well, everybody has freedom of expression. Nazis have the right to call for the gas chambers against Jews, but we have the power to attack them and condemn them. For me, the definition of anti-Semitism is very simple: applying a double standard to Jews or to the nation state of the Jewish people. If what you're saying about the Israeli government you would be saying about other governments, fine. But if you're singling out the Israeli government because it's a Jewish state, or if you're singling out Jewish advocates or Jewish people, look, Bernie Sanders is an anti-Semite. There's no doubt in my mind about that. He's a Jewish anti-Semite. He applies a double standard against Israel. He's always done that his whole life. The man's a complete bigot. He was born in Brooklyn, just a few blocks away from me, and he moves to Vermont to solve the racial problem, where there are no African Americans and hardly any minorities. I mean, the guy's a complete phony, and he's an anti-Semite. He hates Israel, and he applies a double standard to Israel, and that's the definition of anti-Semitism. You simply have to apply the same standard. Now, people have the right to be anti-Semites, but we have the right to condemn them. And what's wrong is not people claiming Khalil has the right to speak or the woman at Tufts has the right to speak, but Harvard professors praising them. We've never praised Hitler when we gave them the right to speak. We should never praise Hamas. Hamas is the Nazi party. Hamas calls for the destruction of Jews, for the murder of Jews, just the way the Nazis call for the murder of Jews. So we ought to treat Hamas exactly the same way we treat Nazis, defend their right of free speech, but condemn them for what they're saying.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.